Please welcome to the stage, Pragnya Vella.
I grew up in an Indian household with a family dynamic that puts Never Have I Ever to shame, Bollywood dance numbers that are just one pirouette short of Jonathan Bailey's Wicked performance, and surrounded by spices that white men almost fell off the earth to find just to not use. But beyond the food, music, and drama stood the true pinnacle of brown society: Indian aunties. For years, I tried to claw my way up to their table, only to hear them collecting information about every child within a 100-mile radius. And their favorite topic to discuss was someone's cousin's dog walker's uncle's kid who graduated from Harvard at 12 and now works at NASA. As a kid, I used to think these stories were exaggerated. But I blinked, and suddenly every high schooler I knew was launching their own apps, curing a disease, or starting their own nonprofits. And while not everyone's relatives have a prepubescent Ivy League student to dote on, that pressure to be better than everyone around us is something that follows us all. So today, let's take a look at why we feel the need to compare ourselves to others, fill in the blanks about what it's doing to our minds and relationships, and finally, graduate from this old way of thinking to live a healthier lifestyle. Now, Indian aunties aren't the first to make a career out of comparing people. Back in 1954, Leon Festinger, an American psychologist, documented what we now know as the social comparison theory. This theory states that we compare ourselves to those of similar age and demographics so that we can evaluate where we stand. Back in the caveman days, this instinct was essential to survival. If everyone around you was out hunting and you were still trying to make a fire out of damp sticks, you knew you were in trouble. But while our saber-toothed tigers have evolved into test scores and job offers, that instinct remains. Except now, instead of using it to dodge extinction, we use it to gauge our self-worth, trying to figure out where we stand. Sometimes we compare ourselves to those doing better than us, which is known as upward comparison, and other times we compare ourselves to those doing worse, also known as downward comparison. In theory, upward comparison can motivate us, pushing us to do better, while downward comparison can provide reassurance. But in reality, upward comparison can create feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt, and downward comparison can create a false sense of superiority. Entire groups of people can be looked down upon to make you feel more comfortable in your self-worth, like how people are judged for struggling academically or financially. And from the moment we're born, comparison weaves itself into the fabric of our lives. As kids, it starts off on the playground. Are you the fastest runner, the best at jumping rope, the one everyone picks for their team? When we reach adulthood, these questions become: who got into the best college? Who has the best job? Who has the biggest house? And through social media, the answer to all of these questions are just a scroll away. The JED Institute explains that social media has transformed the way we compare ourselves to others by exposing us to our peers' perfectly curated Instagram feeds. Now, these platforms are built to showcase the best versions of ourselves, making it seem like we're the only ones struggling while everyone else is thriving. And the comparison trap doesn't just affect the way we view ourselves, it transforms the way we function. To better understand its effects, let's circle back to the location of every Indian auntie's dream: Harvard. The Harvard Business Review describes a phenomenon that many high schoolers today are all too familiar with: toxic productivity. The obsessive need to be constantly working and make the most productive use of every minute. We often don't recognize this behavior as a problem because society applauds it. Those who never stop grinding are seen as overachievers and hustlers. But when every day becomes an endless to-do list, those people can face burnout, anxiety, and imposter syndrome from feeling like they're never truly doing enough. Taking a break can feel like laziness. An unexpected free time like a canceled meeting isn't a chance to rest, but just another slot to cram with more work. During less demanding periods, these individuals can find it difficult to relax because they're used to living life on overdrive. This behavior can easily transform into perfectionism, where individuals set impossibly high standards for themselves and believe that their self-worth is intrinsically tied to their own achievements. As BBC journalist Amanda Ruggery explains, these perfectionists have a relentless inner critic that refuses to allow room for mistakes. So, when you achieve a goal, instead of celebrating it, your inner critic just feels relieved. Ruggery describes how even small setbacks or imperfections can trigger intense feelings of frustration and shame, leaving you stuck in a cycle of never truly feeling accomplished. The pressure to constantly prove oneself seeps into our relationships too, turning friends into rivals. Forbes explains that most friendships are built on the perception that both individuals are equals. So, when one friend starts achieving more than the other, that balance shifts. Eventually, what once felt like mutual support becomes a constant toxic competition where every achievement is stacked up against each other's. You excitedly talk about your weekend getaway, and they bring up their month-long trip to Europe. Over time, this dynamic breeds jealousy, insecurity, and even sabotage. In professional and academic settings, this manifests as gatekeeping, where individuals hoard opportunities instead of sharing them with others. So, to break free from this toxic cycle, we must first start by redefining our idea of success. This means shifting our focus from external validation tied to achievements and instead focusing on learning, growth, and progress. Wellness educator Robin Henley Defoe explains that when we start to appreciate the time and effort invested into our pursuits, regardless of the outcome, we can appreciate the journey itself. This will help us let go of conditional self-worth, where we're only happy with ourselves if we achieve a certain goal, and instead practice genuine self-esteem, where we are proud of ourselves regardless of the outcome. Once we've done that, we can go back to using comparison for what our cavemen ancestors intended, as a tool for growth. When you see a peer excelling in something you desire, view them as a role model and set goals so that you can achieve similar heights without feeling threatened. Melissa Dinwiddie offers a unique strategy for doing this, creating your own brew. First, identify the people whose achievements align with your own goals and write them down. Next, use this to craft your own brew of the qualities that you would like to have so that you can become the best version of yourself. And lastly, if your brew does ever start to feel a little too bitter, Dr. Robert Leahy, director of the American Institute for Cognitive Therapy, explains that envy is kind of like a telemarketing call. You can acknowledge it, but choose not to engage. He says that while jealousy can drain you, gratitude can fill you back up. So the next time you find yourself caught in the comparison trap, I encourage you to do the positivity pivot. In fact, we're all going to do it together right now. We've all been sitting for the past 9 minutes, so let's take a moment to stand up. I want you to think back to the last time you compared yourself to someone else, whether it was that Instagram model's perfect vacation photos or when your friend got a new promotion at work. Whatever it is, take a moment to remember it. Now, I want you all to physically turn to the side. Turn away from the negative space that comparison took up in your mind. And as you do, I want you to think of something you're grateful for. It could be big, small, even just the fact that you're here with us today. And when you're ready, you can sit down. It's time to stop racing to keep up with others and instead race to become the best version of ourselves that we can be, not measured by how we stack up, but how we grow. So the next time I find myself at the Indian auntie's table, I'll be perfectly happy with the fact that I didn't start my Harvard education 6 years ago. Together, we can graduate from the comparison trap and start living for the you that matters most. Thank you.